Hello everybody, it's Phil the Miniature Model Maker and welcome back Stillmaniacs. This is weekly update number 2 for week ending Sunday, September 14th, 2025. What did I get done this week? Um, as I said in the previous video, less than I had hoped, but more than I expected. I think. So in the previous video, I got a lot of these greened out. This past week, what all did I do? I, being my usual self, I got a little disorganized. I got a little bit of sidetracked and ended up including pathfinders in this where they shouldn't have been. They belong in the reconnaissance detachment. So a fair amount of time was not wasted, but spent working on them when I needed to be focusing on Commander Dawntide's detachment. But they got their armor more detailed. They got their weapons blacked out. Did a little work on some skin. Tried some things. Little experimentation. How I can get it done. And I found myself hitting a wall that I didn't expect to be hitting so soon. We'll talk about that. Hopefully I'll remember to talk about that later in the video. But yeah, there was this, and I've had a bit of a struggle also while working on these guys. In previously, my design was to have the. Where's a better example? Here we go. I had been using the Sept color in this central part here, and I had also painted the rifles the same green as all the armor, and that posed two problems for me. Mostly aesthetic, some of it lore. Um, Lore in that how Tau generally color their equipment, how they paint their equipment, um, and lore being one of the main reasons I do this, and complying with the lore, I guess, is important. Yeah, since that's a big part of this. I previously mentioned in the last video how the greens kind of made just a monotone um, look, and I kind of solved it. I tried doing just black guns with them, and that it looks pretty good. I mean, it's not bad, but when looking at how the Tau armor is, especially the Fire Warriors, are painted, inevitably and almost invariably, it's the same color as the armor in this upper portion here, with some other color for the stock. Um, so I kind of took that in a step further, thinking, all right, well, they've got these guns, and how are they making them? Well, how are they making them, and how are they maintaining them in the field? Well, if this is one color, this handle and basic stock part, and then you've got the barrel and other portion of it here. Yeah, maybe these are made in parts. Like you can get your stock, and then you've got your functioning portion of it. If something in here breaks down, they can just remove that and put a new one on while this is being repaired off in the field. So that got me thinking, okay, well then I will do black. I like the black on here, but what if I just do the green? And I don't want the bright green. I want something a little bit more muted. So I did just a couple coats of the Nocturne green, which is the base green for all of these guys, the shadow undercoat as I'm calling it. And that worked out pretty well. I was happy with that. It's compliant enough with established color schemes, and it's headcanon enough that it works. I like that. So I think this, for now, going forward, this is what I'm going to be doing. And I chose just a plain metallic for the pulse part of it. And then I went through and decided to make this central part the same color as the armor. Is the blue sept color on the cast symbol was just a little bit disruptive, and it's like it paints a target right there, center mass. And that's not something they want. So I went and painted these, and I got tired of batch painting, assembly line painting, with all of these guys here. So I said, okay, I've got them to a decent point. I'm just going to focus on these 5 and finish them up. And there's still a few places that need to be fixed and cleaned up, but for the most part, they're done. I used the other thing that really helped out with the look for me was using 3 different enamels. Got the dark green streaking grime for green vehicles, the dark streaking grime for green vehicles on the green parts and the gun. And then some parts got the regular streaking grime, which still has a little bit of a green tint. But then I also used Goon's grime, which is a very nice brown based. And I did that on all the browns and the hooves. So when I was going through and completing them from this step to the end step, what all did I do? I based out the flesh, the blue flesh, got the black on the excuse me, on the hooves, and did a 50-50 of Morghast bone and the airbrush version of Dryad bark, and highlighted the creases in their clothing. Some of these show more than others, which, whatever. Like this guy here, you can kind of see it more. Maybe it's not showing up on camera. Is that going to work? Yeah, you can kind of see it there. There we go. Part of that's lighting, part of that's the highlighting. So I got that done on all of these. And on the flesh, I went through along this area here, did a bit of panel lining with Druchii Violet, because I wanted the blue skin to have a bit more of a purple, a warmer tone to it. Then I went over, stippled some fairly dilute rust gray. So I'm using the standard Tau skin scheme, the Fang, rust gray, and then what's the other gray? I'm not going to pull it up, but I went with the next step up and did a bit of stipple along the edge of where the hoof and skin meet. Then did an overall wash of just the skin with some Seraphim Sepia to kind of warm it up a little bit and get an earth tone to it because they're on a jungle world. Then did a bit of Morghast bone on the edge of the toe here. It's not going to focus there to show some wear and tear. A little bit of highlight on there, and that it was also dirty. And here's where I hit that wall. If you follow me on Twitch and my streams, when I talk to beginners and they're asking questions about what equipment should I use, what paintbrushes should I get, all these people are saying spend $30-$40 on really nice Winsor & Newton Series 7 brushes and all these expensive brushes. I'm like, no. If you're just starting out, or if you're painting an army, get a cheaper set. If you're getting into the hobby for the first time and you don't know if you're going to like it, don't waste your money on super high-end equipment only to find out that you don't like it. Get a starter set of brushes and try it. Because your skill level is not to the point where you can take advantage of the properties of the higher end equipment, like those natural hair brushes that hold a really fine point. If you don't have the skill and brush control to use it, it's wasted money. Well, here is where I hit that limit. The brushes I have, I tried doing some checker patterns on here, and the brushes just couldn't hold the point that I needed. They weren't flexible enough to get the effect that I wanted. But it still worked out pretty well. And these are infantry, and to be honest, most of this is going to get covered up with basing anyway. But I thought I would mention that I finally skilled up enough and got my techniques down enough that my hardware can no longer live up to it. And that was especially true on the skin here. Okay, digression aside, these guys all got done up. They're completed. Good enough for tabletop, and I'm happy with it. So they can be put aside. They're done. Check 5 of them off the list. We still have 5 more to complete, but they're in pretty good shape. The other thing I got done was trying out color schemes on the stealth suits, and have decided that I'm going to go with gray and black instead of the brown. I think that it is a bit more stealthy, maybe, but it also breaks up the huge amount of earth tones, nature tones on here, and I like it. So I think I'm going to make armor portions of it are going to be gray, and the fabric portions of it are going to be black. And then these are going to be metallic. So that's going to be the focus this week, is the stealth suits and this broadside that I got some work done on. And the black, these are going to be mostly black with some metallic dry brushing on there. And this is Iron Warriors metal, the dark metal. And the biggest win, biggest completion of the week is the broadside, this guy. I got this one completely done. This is done to tabletop standard as far as painting. Again, basing is going to be the very last thing I do for good reason, various reasons. How did I do this? Well, the greens got the dark green vehicle streaking grime. The blacks got the regular streaking grime. Because they got a heavy dry brush of the metallic first. And that all got washed. The missiles got Morghast bone, which is what pulled that color into those fire warriors. A little bit of metallics here and there. And that got washed, and the enamels got done. And then looking at it, I'm like, okay, it wasn't quite done. So I went through and used the Tamiya black panel liner to go into a lot of these areas and redefine panel lines, which made me notice these shallow ones. I believe I talked about that in a previous video. But just going through and adding the black panel liner did wonders to define the parts. And then I did a bit of a dry brush of the Nocturne green, about a 50-50 Nocturne green and Xandri dust. You can see it here, to knock back a bit of the grimy look, because it's a unifying wash, but it made everything a little bit too uniform. So when I looked at it from a distance, it still kind of looked like a bit of a blob. So a bit of dry brush to redefine some of these edges and to tone down the grime just a bit, like along these bigger surfaces. And that worked very well. I was very pleased with that. Then I realized, oh yeah, they're on a jungle world. It's not dirty, it's muddy. There's not a lot of dust floating around in the air. There's water and rain and mud and gunk. So I came back through with the Goons grime and hit the feet, these lower portions, really hard with it. And then I selectively painted it straight out of the pot, put it on there. No thinning, and I didn't remove it. And I'm not going to go through and do a removal pass. The grime is there. I put it in places where mud would realistically sit, where water might realistically pool, where stomping around swamps and muddy jungle, where things would accumulate. And a little bit in some of these areas up here as well, just as a brown tint shade. And you could achieve a lot of these effects with acrylic washes and things as well. You'll just have to be more mindful of how you're using them. I prefer the enamels because the reductive technique makes more sense to me. It's easier for me to visualize as I go through the process of the highlights versus the shades if I'm removing and can see, okay, that's at the point, that's the highlight point where I like, versus me being able to um, image, imagine, visualize building up. Like at what point is it enough? Plus the way the enamels just soak into the panel lines and really fill them out works very well with a towel. Um, so yeah, this guy's pretty good for a first run of how the mechs are gonna look. Some of these maybe got a little bit too bright, but meh, whatever. Pretty happy, and I did a little bit of noodling around with lenses. Tried using some Night Hunt Gloom technical paint to maybe make a bit of a glow effect in the same manner you can use contrast. That didn't work out quite so well, so I went through and redid the lens there. But this is the standard for everything in the Army now. This is it's base coated, it's shaded, it's highlighted to a degree. This is the tabletop standard. So everything that I'm going to be working on foot soldier wise, or battle suits, or vehicles, it's going to be up to this standard. Now these guys still need a little bit of work on their face masks, but that's for future fill. So what am I going to do this week? I'm going to try to focus on, painting wise, these 4 models, and I really need to get these finished. I need to get the missiles on them. I need to get them primed. I need to start painting them. I need to get the drone things. They're already assembled. They're in another container. Need to get them going. Magnet put on there for the base. Yeah, so these 2 are the building project for the week, because this is the 3rd week of the month, and these things are going a lot slower than I had expected. But we're not existential, semi-existential crises, aesthetic existential crises aside, it's doing pretty well. I should be happy with how things are going, and hopefully the decision-making experimentation point is done, and I can go ahead and say, okay, these are my steps, do it. So if I can get these done, I'll be pleased with the painting portion of it. If I can get these guys built, I'll be pleased with that. If I can get these done and ready to paint. Now the pilots aren't going to go in there, because there's all sorts of control panel stuff that needs to be painted. But that's fine. I'm okay with counting these as done enough if I can get the full color done on them and then have the panels highlighted and ready for contrast paints that I don't currently have, and prepared to do that. And Dawn Tide and the Ethereal, oh boy. I need to be realistic and tell myself that I probably won't get them done by the end of the month, because they're the two main characters of the entire collection, of the entire army, not just this detachment. I want to make sure that I spend my time on them. I want to really enjoy the process. I want to have the process of painting the small guys down. I don't want to be going back and having to change things. I want the color scheme set. I want the method of how I paint everything set. I want to practice on the skin. I want to practice on the cloth. I want everything down, and I want to make sure I do it right the first time, and be able to take my time and really enjoy coloring up the character that I have envisioned in my head with their story. So that's going to be the realism of it. I may get some green on this guy. If I've got green on the palette and I'm working on something, I may go ahead and do that, or I may not. So we'll be real there, and if I have time, I may substitute out this commander instead. That's still progress towards getting the entire army painted, and working on him will allow me to get experience, figure out the method of painting a commander battlesuit for working on Dawn Tide. That's potential for the last week of the month, or possibly going into October. Because I am at the point where I think I am going to, as far as 40k stuff, I'm going to keep focusing on the Tau. I'm going to get it done and make my 40k content long-term hobby vlog, hobby paint projects of one army at a time. That would be most helpful for me, the most effective thing for me personally, and will be a niche that isn't currently out there to a large degree. So folks who are liking the 40k content, be prepared. A lot of it is going to be the Tau for quite a while. Now I do have the Relictors Terminators that when the time comes, and we know it will come, I'm fighting it right now where I need a palette cleanser, I may work on them. I might take them one individual at a time. And when I finish a detachment of the Tau and need to set it aside, pull out one of the Relictors and work on him, and when he's done, put it aside, go back to more of the Tau. So that is that, my friends. This is this week's Stillmania September update. Week ending September 14th. This video is going to go up September 16th because the algorithm needs time to process, and it's currently very early on Monday morning. I was up late trying to get progress done on these. Thank you very much for your time, folks, and remember, this is a hobby. If it doesn't bring you joy, don't do it. Or if how you're doing it, because somebody else is saying this is how you have to do it, if this is some internet guru saying, oh, to be the best painter, just do it like this, or you have a big army, just do it like this, but that way doesn't bring you joy, find a different way that does. But keep focusing on that army. Keep that love. Keep building that narrative of your army. Keep that imagination and glee of your